I am incredibly excited to announce our next speaker, who is Amara, who is speaking on modern SEO tactics and AI. You don't want to miss it. So Amara, please come to stage. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me for the last session before the last session at TNC 2024. So hopefully, has everyone gotten the one thing from TNC so far? Their one thing, yeah? Well, hopefully when you leave the session today, you get 3 things. That's my goal, all right? So my name is Amara Omoregie. I am the CEO and founder of the newly minted Full Stack Agency. We've been around since 2008, and we're really excited about the new direction of our consultancy. So today, we're going to talk about one of the least sexiest topics in marketing, SEO, unless you're a nerd like me. So really quick, I want to get a real quick temperature from everyone. How many of you provide SEO services to your clients oh, very cool. How many of you kind of dabble in it, know enough to be dangerous, but isn't really your thing? Raise your hand. All right. How many of you guys just know how to spell SEO, but don't know anything about it? All right, cool. Unfortunately, I'm not going to teach you how to do the basics of SEO. It's going to be a little technical. So I just ask that if you hear a word that you don't understand, just write it down. And I apologize in advance for the rabbit hole you're going to go down when you go to research some of this stuff. Sorry, not sorry. So just stick with it. It'll get good, I promise. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. Today we're going to talk about how to quickly 10x your organic traffic with AI and modern SEO tactics. First, we're going to cover traditional SEO and modern SEO, which I like to call human experience optimization. Because let's face it, Google's all in on the user experience right now. And there is a difference between traditional SEO, and we're going to talk about those differences here shortly. We're also going to talk about how to leverage dark social to build a high-intent keyword strategy for organic growth and conversion. How many people cringed when I said dark social? Has anyone heard of dark social? Anyone? No? It's not that creepy, I promise. How schema and structured data support chat-based search, generative AI, so that you're ready, your websites are ready. And then last but not least, I'm going to provide a step-by-step on how to integrate structured data into your marketing and content strategies. All right, so let's talk about the current state of SEO. A lot of what I'm going to change, a lot of what I'm going to talk about, you might not have heard of. However, this stuff's been around for the last decade. So I'm hoping to get all of us marketers up to speed. Because a lot of people just don't like SEO, right? However, it's a necessary evil. A lot of the things that we don't do in SEO are actually starting to hurt the user experience. I liken it to building a big, huge 26-story skyscraper and making everybody take the stairs. And we don't want to do that, right? We want to build an elevator, make it easy for people to interact with our brand, find the information that they're looking for, and all that. So let's talk about traditional SEO for a minute. Traditional SEO has been very keyword focused. And when I talk about traditional SEO, I'm going to talk about SEO 10 years ago, right, and how search has evolved. It was very keyword focused. Remember back in the day, you used to have to incorporate every version of a keyword on a page in order to have that page be found, have it show up in search, right? You had to have the plural version, synonyms of that word, right? Or you'd miss out on really valuable traffic. It's because search engines didn't really understand context back then the way they do now. So it led to a lot of repetition, a lot of keyword stuffing. A lot of our content strategy was geared towards having to serve our search overlords, right? So it wasn't always the best content, which isn't really great for AI right now because if you have crap content, you're going to get crap results, right? Next, we had spammy link building. Google's like, all the links, build them, right? Like, didn't matter where they came from. And over time, they're like, well, maybe not the bad ones. Maybe not these really weird links that link to who knows where, right? And they're trying to run that back. So link building was really spammy back in the day. And going forward, Google's really wanting us to be more mindful of that and will punish us if we continue to utilize those tactics. We used to only optimize for one search engine results page. The little blue bar and then the description. That's all we really had to optimize for, right? And also, we didn't really have mobile back then, 10, 15 years ago. We didn't really have a mobile experience in search. Now, from our SEO, things have changed. How many of you know anything about the knowledge graph or knowledge profiles? Some of you, not very much. For those of you that don't know anything about it, I'm not going to dive into it today. It's incredibly complicated. Write it down, go Google it. There's your rabbit holes. What I want to talk about here is entities. Entities are really important. Typically with keyword research, or keywords, we would incorporate them into our title tags, we'd incorporate them into our descriptions, incorporate them into our headers. We really want to focus on optimizing for entities because that is how search engines contextualize our information so they understand what your site's about. We're constantly coming up with new ideas, sharing new information, and Google and all the search engines just can't keep up. So if you've never heard of entities, research entities and how all that works. We're not going to talk about that today. We're going to dive into some other more complicated topics, but I wanted to bring it up because it's actually really important and why you need to change your strategy if you've really been keyword focused up until now. Also intent. A lot of times we focus on keyword volume and all that competition, when really, what about intent? All traffic ain't the best traffic, right? Ryan Deiss talked about in his keynote, optimizing for buyers that are ready now, right? If we are able to optimize for keywords where people are having problems right now that they want solved right now, our traffic converts right now, right? So we'll talk a little bit about how to optimize for those keywords and key phrases. Google really wants depth and expertise. We no longer have to serve a search engine or search engines that don't understand context, that don't understand plural and all that, right? So we can finally write great content and we'll get credit for writing great content instead of having to write a lot of content that doesn't matter. So yay, we can start doing that. Natural link attraction. Now you're probably thinking backlink strategy. Another opportunity for natural link attraction is when we get into the topic of dark social, people are sharing your content. They're sharing it in Facebook Messenger, they're sharing it in Telegram, they're sharing it in Slack. So natural link attraction is, let's also think of natural link attraction in terms of how people are sharing your content as well, and sharing those links among their peers and among the people that they talk to. Search engine results pages. There's a lot going on those pages. I don't know if we quite pay attention to those the way we should as marketers. So I'm going to show you a few examples of that as well. We also have the mobile-first search experience. People search on mobile 16,000% more than they do on desktop. So if your site's not optimized for the mobile search experience, you are more than missing out. So let's talk about the future of SEO. Well, a lot of what I'm talking about happened 10 years ago, so we're a little bit behind, right? And then there's this whole notion of AI. So we're going to talk about a couple plays today. Not necessarily in this order, in fact, not in this order. However, first play we're going to talk about is incorporating structured data schema and to increase traffic and optimize for chat-based search. How many of you guys have a schema strategy or structured data strategy? Excellent. Excellent. Play number two, we're going to talk about leveraging dark social to accelerate conversion. And your results, you'll have improved click-through rate on search engine results pages, better context to your content, which means stronger authority in search rankings, and you'll be able to rank on page 1 of that search engine, aka position 0 quickly. How many of you guys know about position 0? All right, cool, yes, a little bit, all right. And your users will have higher intent via organic traffic, which equals more money. First things first, let's talk about dark social. So what exactly is dark social? It's the sharing of content and recommendations through private channels such as Slack, Telegram, WhatsApp, and other social media direct messaging platforms that typically can't be measured easily. That's why they refer to it as dark social, because it's not the easiest thing to measure, right? What I like to do is I like to do a lot of voice of customer research within these dark social channels. It allows us to be introduced to an audience of buyers who are ready to purchase now, reduces the time it takes for customers to purchase if your offer is good. I want to preface that. You'll experience less competition by showing up where your competitors aren't as well. All right, so here's how I utilize voice of customer research and dark social to mine for high intent keywords. Is everybody familiar with voice of customer research? Right? Ryan Deiss had said during his keynote, he or she who's able to articulate the customer's problem the best will win, right? And so voice of customer research allows you to look at how customers are articulating their pain points and repeat it back to them the way that they say it. And it creates this weird phenomenon where they're like, wow, they're reading my mind. How did they know that was my problem? Well, we listened, and we're repeating that information back to you in the way that you understand it and articulate it. So one of the exercises that I do when I'm working with clients is I complete a UX customer journey map. Step one, you want to complete your ideal customer profiles. Next, we'll determine our voice of customer research method. There's several. Next, we'll conduct research on customer journey mapping. And then we distill that information and implement optimization strategies based on those insights. So let's dive into our ideal customer profiles. Pretty simple. We're all marketers. We all know how to do that, right? However, I'm going to encourage you to not guess. Do not guess. Don't say, oh, I know my customers better than anyone. I hear that all the time from clients. I'm like, yeah, we're still going to do it. If you have customers, look into the data, right? If you have a Shopify store, e-commerce store, if you have B2B, if you have leads that have converted, leads who haven't, dig into that data to see who is actually buying your product. I often say, controversially, that funnels don't stop working, your customers change. Their needs are changed, there's new competition, there's all sorts of things happening. So, in a way to kind of stay ahead of that is to look at your data instead of guessing. So first and foremost, who are your customers, right? What are the demographics and psychographics? Who are they? Why do they buy? And we want to identify their pain points in the way that they say it, of course. Next, determine your method of voice of customer research. The one that I like the most is interviews, because you can dig deep and say, so, why did you choose this? Why did you choose that? Tell me more, right? You can actually dig a little bit deeper. Interview your customers from the past and interview your customers from the present. You want to also survey your customers. Now, there is a right and a wrong way to survey your customers, right? A lot of times we survey or ask our customers questions to validate what we believe to be true. When really we want to kind of get an idea of what they think, what they believe, why they do things. We don't want to do that. We don't want to question our customers to validate what we believe. I like doing a lot of research in communities. Sometimes I'll do this before I start interviews, just to kind of get an idea if other people feel the same way. I like to do a lot of research in Quora, in Reddit, in Slack channels and communities like that, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, where people are having conversations. It's kind of like National Geographic, where they're watching the hippos before they go in for the kill. You're watching humans in their element without being prompted by a marketer to give them an answer where they're like, it's going to say something, go away, type situation. When you're looking in different channels like Reddit, Quora, whatever, these are people having natural conversations about their problems. And there's a lot of people giving terrible advice, especially medical advice, in those communities and things like that. So why not be an expert, joining the conversation and actually giving good advice to people? We want to look at what problems are they talking about? What are they discussing specifically? What other options are there? How many of you marketers actually listen to sales calls? I always say there's gold in them there are hills. Listen to the sales calls, because they get in there and people are asking questions to an expert, right? And so they're going to dig deeper. And if you're providing an answer to a question that's not clear, they're going to ask and ask and ask and ask, right? So listen to your sales calls. There's a lot of gold in those. Research reviews of competitors. Look at the pain points. Look at their one-star reviews. Look at their all-star reviews, right? See what your differentiators are. Next, we're going to do a customer journey map. This is kind of the framework that I use for customer journey mapping. Kind of looks like a persona, but it's a little bit different. It's a bit of a UX exercise. In the freebie, I believe we have a worksheet that kind of has this framework in there, so you can fill it in and use it for your auditing of your customers if you'd like. So what I do when I'm filling this in is I want to answer questions at each stage. So when I talk about awareness here, I'm talking about it in a very specific sense. Google did a study about 10.5 years ago or more called the 0 Moment of Truth. And they wanted to understand, when do people start searching? Search isn't always the first option when people want to solve a problem. They want to know, when people start the search process, what were the options that they choose? What were the things that they did before they started searching? Because you as business owners can actually get in front of people before they actually start searching, where there isn't any competition. Imagine that. So in the awareness stage, we want to find out what made them start searching. What were the different options that they went to before they started searching? What made them want to seek a solution to a problem that they had? What was the trigger point? In the research stage, we want to identify, where did they search? What did they search? In the evaluation stage, you wanted to identify what options did you have to choose from, and which ones did you consider most. These are your direct and indirect competitors. In the decision stage, why did they go with you or a competitor? And so here's an example of there it is, customer journey map that we did for one of our clients. They provide support to patients who've had traumatic brain injury. So this is Fire Chief Joel. He fell off a ladder, had a major concussion, and his symptoms were not getting any better. So he was like, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to have to retire. I need to figure out something. So his expectations. He wanted to put a timeline on his recovery. He wanted to get back to work, and he wanted to make progress with his recovery versus having his symptoms coming off all over the place. What would happen with TBI patients is that they have these symptoms, and the doctors would just send them away because they're not critical, they don't know how to help them. A lot of doctors don't know how to treat patients with traumatic brain injuries. So what triggered it? He realized he wasn't going to get any help from his doctor. He needed answers. He wanted to be able to get back to work. Where did he do his research? He started researching concussion symptoms and things like that, and he identified that he had a TBI. A lot of people don't use that kind of language, but we insist on optimizing for language our customers don't use. Now, why do we do that, right? So he identified that his condition was called a TBI. So he was able to dive into that more and find some more information. Now, this is all based on research that we did and looking at people's journeys, and we just kind of created this one profile that kind of went through the journey of someone with a TBI. They found TBI support group, and people discussed options. There were all kinds of options. Green tea, Reiki, yoga, like what? It's a TBI, like what the heck, right? One of the options was our client's clinic and their services, which was really great. So he looked into it because it seemed like it might work. And people were raving about all the options. So he evaluated everything, decided to go with our client, chose them because they offered a timeline for recovery, and it seemed to be a solution. You know, some people seem to have great results. So he's like, why not? I have nothing else to lose. Next, we're going to distill the data that we get from our research and implement optimization strategies based on those insights. All right, so this actually happened before I gave a similar presentation, and I threw this into my deck here. I have a colleague who was wanting some money. He had some AR coming in, but he had some bills that might come in sooner than that money was going to come in. Right, so he asked our mastermind, asked our community, what do you guys recommend? I chime in, and I'm like, hey, Bluevine, I have a line of credit through them. I was able to get approved easily, it was fast, and they keep increasing my line of credit. Christina hops in and says, how much money do you need? Do you need a bridge? She says you could just not pay your bills, not pay your account payable, and you could just not pay your bills and just use that to pay off your stuff, right? Like once the AR comes in. She also validated that Bluevine is great. She also said you might want to get an MCA, however, there's a lot of interest or it might take, you don't have a very long time to pay the loan back. So that could be problematic. Another person says, yep, I love Bluevine too. Dustin comes back a few hours later and says, oh cool, I'll check out Bluevine. 7 minutes later, he signed up, they got a lead. This is what's happening in dark social channels. Studies show that people talk about brands 92 times a day. What's it going to take for them to start talking about yours? When people ask for solutions for problems that they're having. And they're taking action now. Not next week, not some a day, they're taking action now when they get into these communities. So let's distill this a little, let's break this down. So Dustin, he's asking, what should he do? He's got low cash. He's thinking about going to Wells Fargo, but they might deny him. So there's a lot of opportunity here if I'm in the marketing team for Bluevine looking at this. He's asking, what are some low cash options? I would write a blog about that. What are some low cash options as a business owner, or as a business? If I were Bluevine, I would also include on my landing page, hey, we can get you approved pretty quickly and easily, which they do have. Congratulations. They didn't miss that one. He's thinking a credit line. He doesn't know if he can get approved. So Bluevine actually does a really good job of putting their approval information there so that you don't waste your time, filling in all their stuff and you don't get approved. It's really, really great. It's really, really clear. I also talk about the fact that they keep increasing my line of credit, which is really great. They don't have that as a benefit. And for me, it's like a partnership thing, right? Like, it's not just a bank that's going to give me a line of credit and they never talk to me again. If they see that I pay well and I keep bringing in more money, they keep increasing my line of credit. So that's a benefit that they might not have known that I valued, so they should put that on their landing page. Now let's look at what Christina had to say. She's saying, don't pay your bills. That's probably not the best idea. However, Bluevine can write a blog about that. Why not paying your bills is not a good idea if you need a bridge loan. Or you need, if you have AR that's coming in and you don't have enough payable receivables coming in to cover it. She also talks about bridge loans. Now, when I search these terms, like bridge loans and things like that, guess how many advertisers are advertising for those keywords? 0. None of their competitors are even competing for those organically either. There's absolutely no competition for any of this stuff when I go back and search for it. All we do as marketers is we copy each other. Ooh, I sell this thing, so do they. What are the keywords are they optimizing for, right? And so we just keep this perpetual competition thing going on when our customers are talking about stuff completely over here, and they can't find the information they need because we're over here trying to compete with our clients instead of listening to them, with our competition instead of listening to our customers, right? And so by distilling all this information, you're able to really tap into what your customers are wanting to know, right? And there's a lot less competition, both on the paid side and the organic side. So when you're distilling and implementing this information, when you're doing research in these various channels, look for opportunities to improve your page copy. Analyze other options as competition. Uncover the details that customers may need more information on, and consider keywords that you may not be targeting. Discover content opportunities to fill gaps and/or help customers answer their questions. And here's the thing, these conversations are happening all day, every day. Some dark social keys to victory: dedicate resources to leveraging these channels, analyze customer feedback and find ways to incorporate it into your copy. Add a brief, how did you find this inquiry how did you find this question during your customer's transaction? Of course, test it. Adding another question when someone's trying to buy something from you isn't always the best. However, you'll get the best answer, and it'll help you attract the next customer. Repeat this research every 3 to 6 months, because consumer behavior changes. New indirect competitors constantly pop up. You don't want to get caught slipping, so do the research, you'll get ahead of it. So now we're going to jump into the whole unstructured data schema thing that I've been talking about. First things first, let's talk about position 0. There's a lot going on with position 0. Now, this is an animated GIF. I was searching marketing conferences or events in 2024. And at the very top, above the organic listings, you have position 0. A user-optimized listing that actually has information about the events, so that you don't have to actually click in to the search result to figure out what day the event's happening, and dates, so if there's multiple days of an event, where in the world it's happening. Has a really nice image, so if there's a flyer there or what have you, it's great. It even has like a little bookmark so you can start saving these things, right? Otherwise, when you get into the rest of the listings, you have to click in there, see where it is, what date is it. It's a lot. In position 0, it's optimized for the user to be able to figure out where they're going, which is really great. How many of you guys are actually optimizing for these types of results for position 0? And 8% of people, position 0 gets 8% more higher click-through rate than the first result on Google. So there's a lot of opportunity there because a lot of people just aren't doing it. We saw a show of hands. There's like 4% of you guys that are actually optimizing for this. So another thing I want to say about position 0 is that there's a lot of angst in the SEO community because of position 0, people aren't actually clicking to your website, which actually isn't a bad thing. Let me illustrate. Imagine being in a car and needing to get gas, and you had to go to the Shell gas station or Chevron gas station website to figure out where you wanted to go. How many of you guys have actually been on the Shell or Chevron or BP for you folks over the pond? How many of you have actually been to their website? I know I haven't, right? However, over the last decade, Google's been sharing user-optimized experiences for us so we don't have to do that. We say, hey, where's the nearest gas station near me? Not only do we see the nearest gas station near me, if we're going somewhere, we see the one that's on our route, so we don't have to drive out of, off our route to get there. You're going to see a lot more of these opportunities pop up where Google can make it easier to find information versus having to go to someone's website to find it. So, I will preface, you might start to see, if you're optimizing for position 0, you might start to see your organic traffic go down, and that's okay, right? Data is contextual, right? We're losing organic traffic, but we're winning the data, especially if you're in a featured snippet where people ask a question in search, and the answer is right there. They don't have to go to your website. That's a great signal. It means Google trusts you to give people answers. That's good news. It's like typing in the date. What day does Christmas fall on in 2024? Why should they have to go to a website to find that? It's like right there in bold, so that you don't have to go to a website, which is great. So how do you optimize for position 0? First, you want to understand different types of schema and structured data. Because all that is Google taking your structured data and presenting it in a way that best suits the user. And that will constantly change. So you want to understand the different opportunities that are there in position 0. You want to audit your website to identify the pages where schema can be added, apply the appropriate schema to those pages, and then verify that it's working. So step 1, understand the different types of schema that you can leverage. So for those of you that don't know what schema is structured data vocabulary founded and followed by all the search engines, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, etc., that allows developers to contextually structure content on pages in a language that search engines and AI can better understand. Here's a quote from a Google executive at a conference in May of last year. This quote was on the Schema app. There are lots of quotes. But here they say, search engines leverage your schema markup and knowledge graph, you heard me talk about knowledge graph earlier, and data sources to train the machines and infer new knowledge. By developing a knowledge graph, you can prime your organization's web data to be AI ready. And there are lots of schema types. There's about 1,000 or so different types, and there's all sorts of things you can do with schema. Here I'm going to talk about just this small set here to work with. So what you want to do next is you want to audit your website and identify pages where schema can be added and where it makes sense. This is one of my clients. Their name's Verdant Leaf. They sell functional mushrooms. They're located in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. They sell USDA-certified organic mushroom products, and they grow them. Not psychedelic, not those kind, just the functional kind, the kind you can get at Whole Foods. However, it's very, very competitive, incredibly competitive. There's companies that have been selling functional mushrooms for years. And so I have the fun job of creating results quickly. So what am I going to do? I'm going to leverage schema. So one of their competitive advantages is that they grow their own mushrooms. A lot of these mushroom companies get their mushrooms from China, which, whatever. And we decided that we were going to take one of their mushrooms that they were selling to local grocers, Lion's Mane, and we were going to make recipes, because we were going to leverage the recipe schema. Why not? None of their other competitors are doing it. And think about it, lion's mane can also mean like an actual lion's mane. So Google's like, so which one are you? Are you like an animal? Are you a vegetable? What are you doing? Right? So we wanted to give Google some context as to what lion's mane we're talking about. So we wanted to go ahead and apply the appropriate schema to the qualified pages. So here you'll see the recipe. It has all the information. Most of us would think that's enough. It's not. Google wants it different. And the search engines want it different. So we built the site on WordPress, and we used a plugin called Rank Math. Anyone use Rank Math? It's great, right? It's awesome. Love it. It makes it really easy to add some of the basic schema to any page or post. And so when you look at this recipe schema, it's asking for preparation time, but it's asking for it in a special format. Right? Not just 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's asking for it in a very special format. It's asking for cook time. It's asking for preparation time. It's asking for how many servings. It's asking for what kind of cuisine. A lot of that wasn't actually on the page. I didn't put any of that information on the actual page. But it is back here in the code, right? And when Google finally scans our page and someone's looking for a lion's mane steak recipe, we want to verify the schema is working. And sure enough, when I type in lion's mane steak, I manually submitted the page to Google. Within 2 days, we're in position 0. 2 days. Not 2 weeks, not 2 months, 2 days. Really sweet. In about 2 weeks, came back to the page. There's all kinds of different featured snippets. You have recipes. You have people also want to know. You have videos, which is kind of cool. And keep going down to the organic results, and here we are. Number 2, organic, which is even awesomer. Awesomer is a word right now. More examples of schema in action. So here's the kind of stuff you want to steal from your competitors in this SEO world. Their keyword strategy, maybe not, but let's steal their schema. It's actually really, really complicated. So I typed in 2024 marketing events, or actually, you know what, let me back up. I'm going to actually show you guys a different example of schema. So we're going to go back to the event schema. I typed in 2024 events several weeks ago. Traffic conversion wasn't there for some reason. However, I think it is now. And if you wanted to add the event schema, you can just go into Rank Math, add the event schema. It's asking for all this information. It's really great. It's really easy. It tells you what it's looking for. And now you have the event schema, and now traffic conversions or any other marketing conference can get added into position 0 pretty easily. And again, it's asking for all kinds of information that might not be on the page. However, it's going to serve up all kinds of different information 100 different ways, right? It's constantly changing. So here's just another example of using the event schema template that's within Rank Math. All right, so looking for new featured snippets, that's what I was talking about. This is what you should steal. If you take nothing else from today, I want marketers to pay attention to what's going on the search engine results page. If you do nothing else. So when you're scrolling around on the web, you're going to see all sorts of different things pop up that look not like the vanilla blue line with a description underneath it. I happen to happen upon one for Lion's Mane Mocha Latte. I saw this Explore Brands thing, like, what's that all about? So I go into my Rank Math, and I'm going to import this page. So all I do is just go in here, go back to one of those results, grab their URL, throw it in there. Clearly not that fast. All right, and it's going to give me all their schema that they have on their page. One of those helped them win that position 0 position. What's really great is I can actually just click on one of those and steal it and just change the information to mine, and voila, now I'm leveraging whatever schema strategy they got going on, which is really awesome. I do a very in-depth walkthrough of how to set up Rank Math and how to incorporate schema if you've never done it before. Let's go ahead and click that. Grab the QR code, grab the link. You can download it. We do have some time for questions. Does anybody have any questions at all?
Wonderful. So I'm going to walk around with the mic. So if anyone has a question, I see one right there. Please raise your hand and wait till I give you the mic, and we'll get some questions going. Let's do it.
Thank you, Amara. Great presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
I was wondering if you could tell for some people who there might be different levels of SEO experience in this room, could you explain why you were using an incognito window?
Because Google kind of tracks my search all the time. And so it might be like, okay, you're searching for this thing over and over again. We're showing you the wrong results. Let's just show you something completely different, because clearly you're not clicking on the things that we think you should. So I don't want to hurt my clients that I'm actually trying to help, by not clicking on their stuff. So I use incognito when I'm doing a lot of research to see what pops up, so it's not based on my prior search history. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I see a couple more over here, so I'm going to walk over here. I'm only human. You got to wait for me to get all the way here. Here you go.
Thank you. Hi, Amara.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. We have seen great results with our video schema snippet, but I was curious if you had any tips on image schema, big in the luxury travel tour industry.
On English schema, you said?
Image
schema. Okay.
If you had any good tips for that.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. So it kind of would be, I'd have to have a more nuanced conversation about it, like what you're trying to accomplish with it. I don't have any tips for it. It would just be very nuanced. Like, I would want to know what you're doing now, why you would want to optimize for, you're in the travel industry, so I get it. People are, want to see, what's possible with what you're doing. I would have to have a more nuanced conversation about that, though. right? And see where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish with it competitively.
Next question, let's go. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way. I'm getting my steps in, guys. Who here uses a Fitbit or Apple Watch or a different exercise routine to try to get your steps in every day? Okay, who was the question right here?
Sure.
Do you have any suggestions on how to surface and track new emergent featured snippets?
They're kind of like the dodo bird. You got to catch them in a wild. I'm just kidding. I use SEMrush a lot, and so if you're kind of monitoring your competition or even what's going on with you, they'll show you when you've qualified for new featured snippets or if your competitors have. So I use SEMrush. However, they might necessarily have an archive of all the new stuff yet. So you kind of got to do a combination of just looking within SEMrush or whatever SEO tools that you're using, and seeing what's happening out in the wild. Like I'd never seen that one in SEMrush. It might be there now, but I haven't seen that one that I showcased in the presentation on SEMrush. It was just out there in the wild. So.
And I see we have one more question over here, so we're gonna do a gentle jog over here.
Hello. I was wondering, how do you compete with specifically event snippets with third-party websites such as like Eventbrite? Because I've noticed that even if I do add a event snippet, Eventbrite, that usually Google trusts them more than like a small website. So I'm just wondering how we can get out that.
I want to make sure I heard your question. So you use Eventbrite or your company is Eventbrite?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You are Eventbrite. Oh.
No, I'm not Eventbrite, no.
Oh,
no.
you're not? Sorry, can you do it one more time?
So no, it's an independent small website. And
you're an independent website and Eventbrite keeps beating you?
Yes, they get to position 0 most of the time.
Well, I mean, they've probably structured data across their entire site, so that might be a little bit of a harder lift. However, maybe pay attention to see what else is going on those pages, and there might be some other opportunities within certain niches, right? Maybe see where there maybe aren't any featured snippets. You just have to dig a little bit deeper in your strategy. Because if you're going for the obvious stuff, you're going to probably lose. If you go for some of the things that aren't as obvious, that are more leveraging some of that dark social I talked about, you might win in some of those areas. So if there's a lot of high competition for some of those keywords or key phrases that you're going after, when they zig, use that. Go this way a little bit and see what happens.
Hi, great presentation. I'm Robert, and so I apologize if I missed this. If for like featured snippets for events or recipes, whatever the case might be, how do we determine whether that featured snippet is actually winnable for us?
Is actually, say that last
winnable, like
winnable?
Yeah, like.
I mean, if you have information that fits within the structured data, because it's all this is structured data. You're helping the search engines understand what's going on the page versus making them guess. AI and search engines can understand unstructured data, but I liken it to spilling this water bottle on a table and drinking it right off the table instead of putting it in a glass and making it easier. It's just making it easier for search engines to understand what's on the page, what it's about, and so they can serve it back to the customers when they're searching for a certain thing, right? And so if it's winnable, it should be winnable if you're able to structure it, utilizing the structured data.
Let's say there's 100,000 lion's mane recipes that people are just doing a lot of. Not all of them are going to be in the first 8. So my question is is there any, just do it and see what works, but
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, there were probably 30, 40, 50 recipes for a lion's mane steaks. We did it and we got number 4.
Dope. Thank you.
Right? Because I mean, there's some things to consider there, right? If your customers actually like it, you're going to creep up higher and higher, right? So.
All right, we have a couple more questions over here.
So you're using rank math for your WordPress sites. What about for like Shopify and some of these other platforms?
I knew someone was going to ask me that, and I meant to mention it. Hi, Norm. Schema.app has a schema plugin. Also, you can just use the code. Schema.org has all the information on what's available, and there's new stuff happening all the time with schema. So if you're not using WordPress, if you're not using Shopify, if you're not using anything that has a plugin that makes this easy, you can have a developer help you with it.
Wonderful. Any last questions? We have time for one more question. Okay, there we go. One last brave person in the audience. You get to say your name because they're the last question of the day.
Hey, I'm Richie. So I have a lot of legacy WordPress sites using Yoast. I now hate Yoast. I love rank math. Is there is there a migrator? Like, is there an easy way? Will the data just disappear and I have to start from scratch?
I'm not supposed to sell anything on the stage, however. I'm going to sell you something free.
Yeah.
If you click that link and you go to the playbook, I don't know how many videos I made. There's several. In the last video, it talks about how to migrate all that stuff from Yoast.
Awesome. Thanks.
It's my easy bread.
Wonderful.
It's
Let's
free.
give one more round of applause to Amara. Thank you so much, Amara. She'll be here to answer some questions also.